Hey everyone, so today's video is the first update for my whole collection project pan. So all these products are randomly selected. I do have my whole makeup inventory laid out in an Excel spreadsheet, so I randomly generate products to roll into this project. I wanted to do sort of a roulette style project like this year because I've never done one like this where the products are randomly selected. So I thought it would be really fun, and this is the first update. So I've only been working on these products for a month and there's not a ton of use on them. I almost feel like I need to do these updates every other month, but I guess I'm just going to show you guys the progress that I have. It's not super exciting, but I feel like because these products are randomly generated, they are a little bit trickier to hit my goals on. And since this is a year-long project pan, I want to make my goals a little bit more difficult so that I will have these products in this project for multiple months instead of just sort of rotating through so many products. Because it is a year-long project pan, I want to try to make as much progress on these products as I can. So anyways, let's just go ahead and start with the first product. So I did actually roll in a couple single eyeshadows into this project. So these are all of the single eyeshadows that I am panning, but the first one that was rolled into this project is this one right here. It is from Terra Moon's Cosmetics and it's in the shade Karen. So it doesn't look like anything special on camera, but it has a really pretty greenish blue sort of shift to it. So I do use this more so as a lid topper, and this is pretty much brand new to my collection. So my goal is just going to be to use this shade 50 times. And I have used it 3 times already. 3 times is not very much, so you can't really even see much of a dent. I will insert sort of update photos, but like I said, I've only used it 3 times, so there's probably not much progress in it. The other single shadow that I'm working on in this project is this shade right here. It's from ColourPop. It's in the shade Snake Eyes. And you can see it does have a little bit of a dent going in here because this actually shattered and I just sort of pressed it back together. So my goal with this one is to hit pan. Because there is already a little bit of a dent, I feel like it will be easier to hit pan, and this has already been used before I rolled it into this project, obviously, so it's not brand new. So I would like to try to hit pan on this to expand on the amount of pan in my collection. However, I did only use this shade twice, so we're not really anywhere near pan. I think these 2 shades are both going to take me a really long time to hit my goal on, but I am working on quite a few eyeshadows right now, so maybe once I hit my goal in a few other shadows that I'm working on, these will go a little bit faster. I just feel like there's so many shadows I'm working on. I want to try to evenly rotate through them, so I'm not necessarily getting as much use out of these shadows as I would like. And then I also randomly selected my Flower Beauty Heatwave Bronzing Essence. So this, I guess you can see where it's at because it has settled. I should probably draw a marking, but my goal is to use this 50 times in this project because obviously this is pretty much brand new. I'm not going to finish it up. But I have only used this 3 times, so again, not much use. My average usage with this project is about 2 to 5 uses, so there's not a ton of uses on these products, which is kind of sad and doesn't really make for a fun update. I don't remember when I filmed my intro to this video, but I feel like these products haven't even been in for a month for the amount of time that I've used it, or maybe it's because they were randomly selected, so they just kind of go to the back of my mind. They're not really in the forefront because I didn't select them to pan them. They were just randomly generated, so I feel like I tend to forget about them a little bit. But like I said, my goal with this is 50 uses. I've used it 3 times. I will draw a marking on it just so that we can see sort of the progress that I make, and that also makes it a little bit more fun. Next up, we have one of my NYX Soft Matte Lip Creams. This one is in the shade Prague, and this was one of 2 that I kept in my collection. I decluttered all of my other soft matte lip creams, and this is the only color, or one of the only lip colors that I have in my collection that's a little bit more brighter and bold. It is what I have on my lips right now. Obviously, I do have a gloss over top of it, so you can't really see the true color, but I only use this once since the intro, and this is the first time that I've used it, so I don't use this very often. I may end up decluttering this. My goal was to get 30 uses out of it, but I only used it once in the whole past month, so I don't really see myself getting 30 uses out of this. If anything, I will lower my usage goal, but I potentially may just end up decluttering this. We'll see how much I use it within the next few months. Next up, we have my Sigma Warm Neutrals palette, and this is an older palette. They sort of re-released this in sort of new packaging. It's their longer packaging that they have all their other palettes in now, but this is a really beautiful palette. I do really enjoy this palette, and since I am doing my No Pan Left Behind challenge this year, I decided that my goal for this palette would be to use every single shade in here at least once. So I have been sort of working my way through this, and I believe I have used 6 out of the 12, so I'm halfway there. I've used this cream shade called Humble, and then also this sort of copper shade called Bittersweet, this shade called Passion Fruit, which is like a pinky transition shade. I do really love this shade. And then I've also used this whole middle row. So this deep brown called Henna, this deeper copper maroon shade called Iconic, and then this more red shade called Rogue. I do really enjoy this palette, and it is pretty neutral, but you can get a little bit of color, for example, with this red shade right here. So I do really like this for an everyday palette, and I really need to use this more. I feel like I neglect a lot of my eyeshadow palettes just because I have so many, but I'm about halfway to using all of the shades in here. And the shades that I have left, I feel like some of them won't be too difficult. This shade called Fool's Gold, I haven't really gotten any use out of, but I feel like I don't really like the formula just from like the one time that I've used it, but obviously I will try it out again and see how I like it. This is also another shade. It's sort of like that matte shade with shimmers in it. So that's not my favorite type of formula because it just has glitter running all throughout it. So I'll see how that performs on the eyes as well as get use out of a lot of these wearable shades, which should be pretty easy. So I feel like by the next update, I should have all the shades in here used at least once. Next up, I rolled in some of my Kosas concealer samples. So I just put these in my makeup inventory sort of as the Kosas concealer. And this Christmas, I did actually get the full-size Kosas concealer in my shade. So I had previously gotten these samples just to try them out and figure out what my perfect shade match was. And then my plan was, obviously, if I liked it, to purchase the full size, which I did get the full size for Christmas. So I feel like I don't really need these samples, and obviously all of these ones are too dark for me. I pulled out 2 of them, obviously, from the little sample packets, and I'm going to mix these 2 together to get my perfect shade for now. So this is the shade 0.5N, and then I have the shade 0.4N. So if I do mix these together, that's what I did today. I do get a decent shade match, but all of these other ones are just too dark for me, so I'm not really sure what to do with them. I may just end up throwing them out because I don't see any other way I could really use them. I could try to use them as like a bronzer contour shade, but I will try to use them before I throw them out, but they may just sort of go to waste because I do also have the full size in the shade that actually matches me. So I'm gonna use these up by mixing them together, obviously, to get my perfect shade. And then I will sort of figure these out. So I may just roll this product out of the project once I finish off these 2 that actually somewhat match me if I mix them together. And I've only used these once. Today was the only day that I mixed them together. Today was the first day that I opened them. So I will probably solely be working on these for the next month or so, because once these are opened, they're obviously open. There's no way to close them. So I don't want them to dry out. So I'll probably consistently use these for the rest of the month and hopefully have this finished by the next update. So I feel like the next update will be a lot more exciting. And then we have my Alamar blush trio. This is one of their old trios in the shade Fair Light. So this is no longer available. They did reformulate and repackage these and release new shades of them. So I do really love this palette. I initially had decluttered this at some point, but I brought it back into my collection because I do really love this palette. I just had so many blushes in my collection, and I still have a lot of blushes, but I find that these shades are pretty unique. So I decided that I want to hit pan on this middle shade right here called Paraiso. And these 2 I have been using a little bit every so often, but I'm mainly focusing on this one right here. And I did use this 5 times, so this is one of those products that I have been more consistently using and actually remembering to use. I feel like this is one of the only powder blushes that I'm working on right now, so if I want a powder blush, I will reach into this palette. So I've pretty easily been able to get use out of it. And obviously this middle shade is a really easy everyday shade, so I can pretty easily use that one, which is why I decided to pan that one. That is my favorite shade in this palette just because it is so wearable, and I feel like this will take me a really long time to hit pan on. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is in the project for almost the whole year, but I wouldn't be mad at it either just because it is a face palette. Even though I want to hit pan on this shade, I can still use these other shades, so I feel like I won't really get bored of this palette. And then lastly, we have my Vesica Highlighter. This is in the shade Moonlight, and again, my goal is to hit pan on this. This was pretty much brand new when I rolled it in. It is relatively new to my collection, so I'd only used it a few times, and you can't really see any movement on it. I can see sort of like a little disturbance on the top layer, like it doesn't look brand new anymore, but there's definitely not even a dip going in it. And again, I did use this one 5 times as well, so I have been really loving this highlighter. This is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite highlighter in my collection. It gives the most natural glow to the skin. It almost looks like a cream on the skin. Like, that's how natural it is, but it's also very blinding in a way. It's not blinding to where it's like glittery or anything. It just gives the most beautiful, intense glow and sheen to the cheeks. It's a really beautiful sort of glow from within effect. So I have been really loving this highlight, and I don't see me getting sick of it or anything before I hit pan on it. I think this is pretty hard pressed in the pan, so I feel like it will take me a while to hit pan on it, but I won't be upset if I have to use this for like over half the year, because I feel like I won't really get sick of it. And I don't get bored of highlighters really. I don't mind if I'm not really changing it up every day. And while I obviously do want to use the other highlighters in my collection, I don't mind using this one every day. So hopefully I will be able to hit pan on this within the next few months, but right now it doesn't look like there's very much of a dip because I've only used it 5 times. So hopefully I will use this a little bit more in the coming months. And that is it for this project. Obviously, I am only including 8 products in this project, which I feel like is a good number. Since I am doing a bunch of project pans, I don't want to get too overwhelmed, so I tend to pick 6 to 8 products for each of my projects. If you want to see more project panning content, definitely make sure to go check out the other project pans. I feel like I'm definitely doing a lot more project pans this year than I have in the past. Also, let me know if you guys are doing any project pans, because you know I love to follow along with your videos as well. Let me know how this year is going for you so far, if you have been successful in your project pans or if it's kind of slow going right now. But if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I do post new videos 3 times a week, which may be going down to 2 times a week potentially. At the bare minimum, I definitely want to continue updating you guys on my project pans, so you will definitely continue to see project pan content from me. I just don't know how many times a week I will be posting. So if you want to stay up to date with my channel and continue to see all of my project pan updates, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified every time I post. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.